Your car won't start. It's 6:47 a.m. The parking lot is empty except for one security light buzzing overhead, and you have $61 in your checking account and a shift that starts in 13 minutes. You are 19 years old. There is no phone call you can make right now that ends with someone showing up to fix this for you. You call an Uber you can't afford, $14 you needed for gas, and you make the shift with 90 seconds to spare. This is what it actually looks like when the floor underneath you is just the floor, nothing below it. No net woven by anyone else waiting to catch you if you fall. By the time this ends, you'll have crossed $1 million in net worth, entirely self-built, and you'll understand exactly why almost nobody who starts where you started ever gets there. Age 19, the floor with nothing under it. You work at a distribution warehouse, $14.50 an hour. Second shift, the kind of job where your body knows the routine before your brain fully wakes up. You share a 2-bedroom apartment with 2 people you met through a roommate finder app. Your rent is $410 a month. You've never once had a credit card, not because you're disciplined, but because nobody would approve you for one. You've watched this play out for other people your whole life. A friend totaled her car at 18 and was driving a replacement within a week, because her uncle had one sitting in a garage. The first rule, the absence of a safety net isn't just a financial fact, it's a tax on every decision you make. People with family money can take a risk and fail, and the failure costs them nothing but time. You take the same risk and failure costs you your apartment. A study on economic mobility found the gap in outcomes isn't explained by effort. It's explained by how many high-risk swings each group can afford to take before one pays off. You start putting $20 a week into a jar, not a bank account yet, a literal jar, because you don't trust yourself not to transfer it back out of an app. Your roommate's boyfriend needs a ride to the airport and you almost use gas money from the jar and stop yourself, hand hovering over it. It's for catastrophe. You tell exactly nobody about the jar for months. Explaining it would require explaining the whole shape of your situation. And pity is a currency you have no use for. Age 20. The catastrophe arrives on schedule. It always does. Your car needs a new alternator. $310. You pay it from the jar. The jar goes from $340 to $30. This is the moment that decides everything. Though you don't know it yet, most people stop refilling the jar at this point. You do something different. Not out of wisdom, out of stubbornness. You refill it, starting again from $30. A coworker mentions the warehouse offers a 401k with a 50% match. Nobody told you. You sign up that week. It takes you 11 minutes to fill out the form. The second rule, information is a form of inheritance too, and it's the one form actually available to you regardless of where you started. You start asking older coworkers direct questions about money. One woman laughs, says nobody's asked her that in years, and spends 15 minutes explaining compound interest on a napkin. Age 22. The promotion that almost breaks you. You get promoted to shift lead. $19 an hour now. You move into your own studio apartment. $680 a month. Because for the first time in your adult life you can. And finally having a door that's only yours matters. 6 weeks after moving in, your transmission fails completely. $2,200 to replace. A number that exceeds your entire savings by roughly double. You take a payday loan, $1,800, at an APR that would have made you physically sick if you'd calculated it, which you don't. By the time it's fully repaid, you've paid roughly $640 in fees and interest on top of the principal. The poverty tax isn't a metaphor, it's a real number. You do not spiral. You build a real emergency fund and set a rule. Every windfall goes entirely into it until it hits $1,000, then 50-50 forever. No exceptions. You sell a gaming console you haven't touched in a year. $140. You sell a bike. $90. You pick up every overtime shift offered. Age 24. The $1,000 that changes the math. The fund crosses $1,000 in October. The car needs brakes. $210. And it comes out of the fund the way paying rent comes out of a paycheck. Unremarkable. Uneventful. The way this is supposed to work. You get a second job. Weekends at a different distribution warehouse. 12 hours Saturday and Sunday. $17 an hour. Exhausting in a way hard to explain. A coworker asks what you're saving for. You tell him, honestly, nothing specific. Just margin. Just room to breathe that doesn't currently exist. The extra income goes almost entirely into savings and a Roth IRA. You automate $400 a month into it. It's gone before you see it. Age 26. The first real number. You quit the second job. Your body needed you to. You take a week off. The first real break in years. Sleeping past 7 a.m. Cooking slowly. It feels indulgent in a way that makes you slightly uncomfortable. Your combined accounts total $31,400. To you, it represents 19 months of double shifts, a payday loan you swore you'd never take again, and a jar with shaking hands. You get a new job, a logistics coordinator role at a mid-sized shipping company, $46,000 a year, benefits, a desk, an actual career trajectory. Everyone around you talks about weekend trips with an ease that suggests none of them have calculated the exact cost of a transmission down to the dollar. The third rule: your network isn't your family's network when you start with nothing, so you have to build one entirely from people who've watched you work. Within a year, you're handling the accounts nobody else wants to deal with, because you've built a tolerance for difficult that most people never had reason to develop. Age 28. The apartment that almost derails everything. Your income has grown. Your lifestyle starts to notice. A coworker mentions a 2-bedroom apartment, $1,450 a month, nearly double what you're paying. You tour it. It has a dishwasher. You've never lived somewhere with one. You don't take it. You remember the payday loan and the transmission, and you understand your margin is the only safety net you get to build for yourself. You do let yourself have small things. You start buying good coffee. An extra $9 a month that changes nothing about your trajectory and changes how each morning feels. Your investment accounts cross $58,000 once a quarter. You sit with coffee and actually read your account statements instead of glancing at the total. You notice a fund with a higher expense ratio than it needed, and you move the money into a cheaper equivalent, saving more than most raises you'll ever receive. Age 31. The year two things happen at once. You get married. Your spouse grew up with even less financial guidance than you did, which means you're building the household's entire financial literacy from scratch. Together, at the kitchen table, the same year, you're laid off. The shipping company restructures, and your role is one of 40 eliminated in a single afternoon. You have 11 months of combined expenses saved between you. For the first time in your life, you have actual room to be unlucky without it becoming permanent. Your spouse takes the layoff harder than you do. You spend evenings just sitting together with the spreadsheet, a kind of calm reassurance neither of you had before. You pick up freelance logistics consulting through your coworker network, bringing in an extra $800 some months, stretching the runway without touching the accounts you promised not to. It takes 14 weeks to find the next role, a supply chain analyst position, $61,000, a genuine step up despite the detour. The fourth rule: the entire purpose of the years of sacrifice wasn't the number in the account. It was this exact moment, the ability to absorb a genuine crisis. Age 34. Compounding starts doing something you can feel. Combined household net worth crosses $190,000. You buy a modest 3-bedroom house, $214,000, using an FHA loan because your 5% down payment is everything you have, scraped together over 18 months. Neither of you has parents present at the closing to celebrate with. You drive to the house afterward and sit in the driveway for a few minutes before going inside. You spend months learning everything nobody teaches people who didn't grow up around homeowners, each lesson becoming free knowledge for the rest of your life. Age 37. Combined investment accounts, home equity, and savings cross $410,000. You run into an old coworker from the warehouse, still on second shift. He asks, half joking, what your secret is. You tell him about the jar. He laughs. You know the jar was never really the secret. The secret was refilling it after the alternator, after the transmission, after every moment where stopping would have felt reasonable. You start mentoring a younger employee, someone who reminds you of yourself. You just answer the questions she doesn't know to ask yet, the same way that woman once did. Age 40. The million. You're at your kitchen table on an ordinary Tuesday. The combined number reads $1,004,000. You do not feel the way you thought you'd feel. There's no fireworks moment, just a specific, quiet recognition. You call your mother that evening, not to announce the number, just to talk. She says she's proud of you, the way she always does. You think about what you'd tell that version of yourself in the parking lot, not the number. You'd tell him about the jar instead. The fifth and final rule: starting with nothing doesn't mean you're behind forever. It means every piece of progress has to be built by hand. The compounding doesn't check your starting balance before it decides whether to work. It just works, quietly, on whatever you manage to feed it. There's a version of this story where the transmission failure becomes the end instead of the beginning, where the jar gets emptied once and never refilled. The fact that you didn't become that version isn't proof that you're special. It's proof that stubbornness, applied consistently, is more powerful than anyone gives it credit for. You keep the jar, a replacement now, sitting on a shelf, mostly empty, mostly symbolic, a reminder of the exact mechanism that got you here. Somewhere tonight, someone is 19 years old, standing in an empty parking lot, staring at a dead battery and a phone with no one on the other end who can help. It starts with a jar. It always does. The only proof that the cycle can be interrupted at all, by someone with nothing standing behind them except the decision to keep refilling it.